Now we're gonna take a look at creating materials by layers. Actually, creating materials by layers is pretty more powerful than using the mixed material, and we're gonna see through this tutorial how this actually work, and it's very basic and easy. It's like working with layers in Photoshop. Okay, so first of all, I'm not create a procedural terrain like this, and I'm gonna move my camera somewhere here and zoom out and then rotate around my terrain. Okay, so we have a nice view. Next, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just double click, open the terrain editor, and go to procedural tab and edit function. Okay, so I'm gonna just uncheck here this little button, and I'm gonna delete this function here. Okay, and I'm gonna create a fractal node here and choose the terrain fractal. I'm gonna connect the altitude to our node. Okay, and let's now modify this. So I don't want to lose time doing this, so I'll let you do the settings you want and get the result you want, and see you just in a second. Okay, I get something interesting. These are the settings if you want to copy, so do it if you want. I'm now click on OK and click on OK here. So right, now we have our terrain, and as you can see, a high level of detail and a pretty much interesting details. And so I'm gonna do a little preview here, and as you can see, I created this terrain for some reasons. So we have high peaks and flat surfaces with some hollow, etc. So pretty interesting, and the kind of terrain that we're gonna need to illustrate how does actually the layered materials work. The level of detail is very high, as you can see. Okay, so I think let's get started. What I want to do is pretty much the same thing we've done before. So we're gonna actually create a grass, rocks, and snow. Okay, so these are our three materials. So let's see how to do this. I'm gonna just double click on this preview here, and it will open the material editor. So here we have our name, so I'm gonna change it to like mountain. Okay, next what I'm gonna do is click on this layer here, which is the button, add layer button, and it will open for me the select material or selected material dialog, which will give me the ability to choose some materials. So you can choose some complex materials and use them, or just take a basic material and edit it as we've seen in the previous tutorial. So I'm gonna pick this flat gray. Okay, and here we have our mountain base and our flat gray. So let's work on this one here. So I'm gonna change its name to mountain base, and our base will be actually the grass. Okay, so let's do this. I'm gonna just edit the function here. As we've seen before, rapidly I'm gonna create a color node here. So I'm gonna connect it, yeah, and I'm connect this one to the color output, and here I'm gonna choose two color variation and pick some nice colors here. Okay, maybe lighter green. Okay, so you can play with these settings here, add some roughness, contrast, noise variation. Yeah. I think something like this is pretty good. I'm gonna just lighten a bit our color, and this one I want to take more green color, so we have something like this, and I click OK. So here it is, and this is our base material, or just name it, sorry, or just change its name to grass. Okay, so next, the layer we've created, which is the flat gray, is actually overlapping our base material, our grass material. So if I do a little preview rendering here, as you can see, we don't have this green color we've created. And so how can we fix that actually? So to fix that, we can see that we have the alpha boost. So if I just deleted the flat gray layer and only had the grass, this is the color we should actually see. But when I click on add layer button and add the flat gray, you can see that Vue gonna use an alpha boost slider to blend the two materials, as you're seeing here. So let's suppose that our alpha boost is at minus 100%, so we fully see our grass. Okay, but if I wanted only to see our flat gray, I would take this to like 100%, and as you can see, our terrain is fully gray. So what I'm gonna do now is create the rocky base or part. So I'm gonna just go over here and type rocks. Okay, and it will now, or rock material, or rock, as you want to, so it doesn't really matter the naming. And I'm gonna come over to color production and do an edit function. So here I have my function editor, and what I'm gonna do actually, or firstly, I'm gonna delete these two, and I'm gonna create a color variation map. And as you can see, it's pretty useful, this here color map. You're gonna use it so much time and so often for creating some effects. Here I'm gonna choose two color variation and pick some brown color or so. Okay, maybe, oh sorry, just like this here. So we have this nice rocky color here, maybe a little bit brighter. You can play with the sliders as we've seen before. Add some roughness and noise scale, yeah, something like this. Okay, maybe a bit higher, no, like this one here. Yeah, pretty good. Next, what I'm gonna do is generate some bump. I'm gonna click here somewhere and just add a fractal node. Okay, I'm gonna just move this up because we're gonna need some space, and I'm gonna generate my fractal here. So let's pick some values here. You can take a look how actually the map looks. I think it's pretty good. Next, what I'm gonna do is connect the bump with the simple fractal here as altitude. As you can see, we begin to have some bump here, some relief. And next, I think we've seen this method before. I'm gonna create some I'm gonna create a linear interpolation too, and I'm gonna click on this little button here, as I explained before, which actually stands for that you can drive this color by a function. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do, the first color, and I'm gonna click here. So here we're gonna have a constant color, but what I want to do is actually have this color variation. So I'm gonna pick this whip here and connect it there, as you can see. And now what I'm gonna do is pick this arrow here and connect it with the simple fractal. So I'm not now make my material my material and my bump dependent to each other. For the, how can we explain, the simple fractal actually will drive the colors, as you can see here. You can also here play with the settings or change the color, but really it's okay now. So I'm gonna click on OK, and let's reduce a little bit the bump because it's a bit high. Something like 3 would be nice. So let's do a preview. And as you can see, we have this color variation here and this bump, which is present here. So I'm gonna just reduce it a bit again because I think it's a bit high. Okay, so something like this. And also, sorry, I'm edit the function here, and I'm gonna just modify these colors, make a lighter color, just to have more variation. Okay. So I'm gonna do a test render. Yeah, I think it's a bit better. We have here some variation in the color, pretty good. Also, I'm gonna edit the function again and play with the noise scale, so we have something interesting. We have some more dark color present, because yeah, something like this. Okay, pretty well. And I click OK. But what you can notice is that our grass has completely disappeared. So what we should do to make it appear again? So here comes a new tab which is called environment. So we're gonna adjust some of the constraints here, which are the same as we've seen with the mixed material, that are the altitude, the slope, and orientation, to limit the material to certain zone, if a zone is if I can say so, or to certain places. So firstly, we have the altitude range. I think it's pretty much clear, where we can simply define a range where this material, which is rock, will appear. Okay, so and let's do this. I want the rock to be actually at a mid-level. So what I want to do is, the 1 actually represents the top, and the -1 represents the bottom. So if I took the bottom here and move it to like 0, yeah, we're gonna have something like this. Okay, as you can see, which is pretty well in my opinion. So that's alright. -0.2 will be perfect. Okay, here it is. So I'm gonna do test render. But what you can notice here is the harsh edge here, where the transition between the rock material and grass material is made, and is pretty visible, and it's not really pretty and really nice to see. So how can we fix that? Is by using the fuzziness, so, or simply the feather. If I can say, here we have the top and here we have the bottom. So what I want to do is here feather the bottom of the layer, or rock layer. So I'm gonna just play with this setting here and see how it does actually work. Yeah, it starts getting shape, but we need to make it higher. So I'm gonna take it like, I don't know, 20%. Will be alright. So I'm just fix something here. If you take a closer look, you can see that our layer here has got some highlights, but I don't want this. So I'm gonna just take all these to 0. So I'm sure there's no more highlights, and I'm gonna just edit the function to add some noise, some bump. Okay, so we can like 0, 1, or maybe it's too much. Yeah, something like this. And click OK, and just reduce the depth to like 0, 0, 1, or maybe not, to like 0, 0, 1. Yeah, pretty much something like this. Okay. And as you can see, the feather here has completely, and this is what I wanted to point to. As you get the value of fuzziness higher, the more your grass will be feathered, and some high values can completely delete your material layer. So you have two manners to correct this. Is by going to the environment here, and again play with the altitude. For example, you can change it to have more grass, or simply get a lower value for the fuzziness. Okay, so I've noticed it also that our bump level was pretty much high for the grass, so I'm gonna just again reduce it to like 0.5, click OK, and do test render again. And as you can see, our transition now is more clear, is more feathered, and not harsh, and is more natural, if I can say. Okay, so that's pretty good. Next, we're gonna add our snow layer. So I'm gonna just click on this add layer here, and maybe we're gonna rapidly take a snow layer here and just modify it. So here we have snow. Okay, and we have the alpha boost, so I'm gonna just take it to like 100%, so it's completely white, and we're gonna take a look if the actually the material is well done, or if it meets our needs or not. I think it's pretty much nice and good, so we're gonna just use it. We don't gonna modify. So but if you want some modification, you can edit the function also. And as you can see, it's pretty basic. We have some color here and some displace and bump, which is made by a gradient here or a noise. Okay, we have the combiner here to just have to this actually works for the displace and bump. Okay, so I think it's alright. Next, we're gonna go to environment tab, and as I said, I want the snow to be on top on high altitudes. Okay, so what we're gonna do is just take this value down. Oops, sorry, this value up. Okay, we're gonna need it something like this. Maybe actually I will let it go something like that, because we're gonna use the fuzziness to correct this harsh edge here, which is the transition between materials. Next, I want to point to, but I think we've seen this before, the slope constraints. Will here you will define, you'll not choose an option, but you'll define a range. So between this range of slope, the snow gonna appear or not. So for example, if I took this one to like 0, snow will only appear on flat surfaces, and as you can see, we don't have really flat surfaces, so it will not appear. Only if I just maybe took this one here, maybe we're gonna have no, there's no snow, there's no flat surfaces, there is no 0 degree slope. Okay, so doesn't really matter. So I'm gonna take it back to like this and move my wrench, and as you can see here, I want the snow to be on slopes and on peaks, so I'm gonna actually define a little wrench here. Okay, so something like this. So on as you can see here, it's only on the slopes only on surfaces that that have a slope between 55 degrees and 152 degrees. So this is not really the requirement, so I'm not, yeah, take it a bit like 45, 152, and as you can see here, if I do test render, I have something actually pretty nice. But I did actually make the snow cover completely the rock layer, because we're gonna use the fuzziness. To correct this here, this transition, so the rock layer will reappear again. So I'm gonna click here and come to the fuzziness. So here I will correct a bit the bottom. Okay, so we have a better transition. Okay, also the top, because we are in a range, and as you can see, we have also the fuzziness for the slope constraint, which consists of the fuzziness on steep and the fuzziness on flat. Actually, we don't have really flat surfaces, so I'm gonna just take this higher, and as you can see, I think we're gonna have a real nice result right there. And here, as you can see, we have our rock layer, which begins to appear in some places here. But actually, I'm gonna modify a bit the altitude so we can see. Sorry, the snow, and take a bit. Sorry, take it a bit higher. Yeah, something like this maybe, or 0.25 would actually be a good amount. And as you can see here, we've mixed three materials, which are grass, rock, and snow. So this is the advantage of using layers than only mixed material. So actually, the mixed material will better work with two materials, but working with layers or layered materials will give you the ability to create infinite layers. Okay, so I'm not trying to give you an example, hoping that my computer will hold the thing, but here over the rock, I'm gonna just add a bit more rock. So I'm gonna come to the environment and change the range to take it a bit down, so we will have less grass, as you can see here. Take it something like this. No, better. Yeah, something like this. I'm gonna reduce a bit the fuzziness, and also for the snow, reduce the fuzziness here and also here. Okay, so we have a nice transition. Now, for example, what if I wanted to, for my grass here, to add some ecosystem, for example? So I'm gonna just select my layer here and click on ecosystem, and it will automatically add an ecosystem layer. For example, I'm gonna add a specific plant that actually we find it in mountains or something, which is the blue spruce, I think. Actually, in my region here, we have a lot of this layer of these trees here type, and I'm gonna simply click on populate, and as you can see, it automatically adds the ecosystem where is the grass. And if I do test render, hoping it will not take too much time, you can see that we've in 2 or 3 clicks we created an entire forest, as you can see here. That's actually pretty well, and yeah, it's rendering as I want to. Maybe get a bit down of the density. Okay, so here for the density, I'm gonna just change it to like the name to trees, and change a bit the density here, so we have less trees. Okay, and we can see the grass. Okay, the grass is pretty basic, but you can go on advanced and use maps and displacement, etc., to create something interesting if you are doing some close-ups. We have the overall color, which I want to change to something that actually looks like this one here, to have a good blending. So I'm gonna take yellowish or green or so, something like this. Yeah, the overall color. Prisons here, if we had only one material or something, actually would use this to constrain our ecosystem to some altitudes or some slope, but this is pretty simple and basic. I think we've seen this before. Okay, so I think it's alright. So let's add some atmosphere and do a rendering. Okay, so I'm gonna press on F4 and spectral mode, note F4, F5, and here we have the selecting an ecosystem for my scene, and I'm gonna take this one like high altitude, and let's press F4, spectral mode, light, global radiosity, and choose it optimized for outdoor rendering. Okay, and we have light intensity. I'm gonna just take a bit down. Okay, next the light balance, so light is coming only from the sun in this case here at actually 100%, and the ambient light is also from the sky, so I'm gonna take it to like 95%. Okay, and we have something I think interesting here. So you can choose the light color here, but it's alright. Overall sky color, I'm gonna just change it to something a bit lighter, so we can have a nice result. Click on OK. So I'm gonna right click on this here camera and choose Final, Render to Screen, and Free User Defined. I'm gonna choose this size here. Actually, we're gonna see this in the last day or just before, I think, how to configure your outputs and renderings. So don't worry, you're gonna see how it does actually work. I'm gonna do my render right now, so see you just after it ends. Okay, so here's the render once it's finished. It's looking pretty good and pretty nice, very smooth. We have this a little bit high density of trees, but we can easily fix this by going through the material editor and just lowering down the density. So as you can see, in no time we had a pretty nice result. Okay, so here we have this snow here going everywhere. We have some here rock parts that are not covered with snow. Very realistic. Actually, if you take a look at mountains, you can see that we have this type of effect here. The grass is present in some places and some places not, and actually the trees are not coming on the rock layer, so it's looking nice realistic. So here we have just a little bit of problem, but as you can see here, it's pretty nice done. So as you can deduce now, in no time you've created such a nice and complex material, and I think this is what makes the materials of Vue very impressive, very complete, and give you abilities that maybe some other softwares don't. So I think we've covered pretty much everything of the material editor and pretty much everything of Vue. So we have some little extras, some little tips, etc. that we have to know for using Vue at 100%. So actually I'll explain a bit about the animations here in the upcoming day. I'll talk about animation, creating keyframed animation, automatic animation, and flying through animations. Okay, so I'm gonna also show you how to create some planetary or planet terrains, or how to create planets in Vue, and also about integrating Vue with Max. So actually we're gonna use a scene with some villas or some houses to create an architectural rendering in no time. Okay, so there are some quick tips or tricks that you need to know before saying that yeah, I know Vue. Maybe talk about the mirror bulbs and hyper bulbs. So here animating wind, etc. But this already a little tips, etc. So about animating wind, actually we don't really use it often when you're doing stills. Okay, so this can be used in some cases, or when doing really animation, high detailed animation. But I think we've seen pretty much everything. So to resume, we've take a look at the user interface. We've also seen how to create terrains, the two types of terrains, simple and procedural. We've seen also how to import objects, add clouds, etc. We also have take a look take a look about creating atmospheres, the material editor, and the ecosystem. So pretty much everything what constitutes Vue, we've seen it already. So there's some other things that we should see, and after that you'll begin to use Vue on to your own I don't know, creations or designs or everything you want. So I hope you learned something, and see you the next tutorial.